ADP number was better than expectations, and you know what? Nothing happened for the dollar here. Why did we not get any real movement on the greenback to the upside off the back of stronger ADP?
Because the only thing that mattered was what Janet Yellen had to say. And of course that's been supported by what Mr. Evans had to say. And it was really a confirmation of the key story of the quarter, which was that the Fed put is in. The simple fact is that they're acting as the global central bank, and they're there to support markets.
But didn't she say that that put only lasts as long as the next meeting, which means, or the next piece of data, which means if we get a stronger earnings component than the market anticipates in non-farm payroll on Friday, we might as well just forget Yellen's speech. It'll be very short-lived history.
Yeah, but no, because the Fed put's been there. Because the Fed put's been there since 1987.
Right.
And it was there. It was reconfirmed back in September of last year after the China crisis. It was there when the Fed suddenly pulled back in January in its statements, and it was there very, very clearly in the press conference in March, and she reconfirmed exactly the same thing. Because what did she talk about? She talked about international markets, and she talked about China, and she talked about her fears, and she talked about all the things that the Chinese wanted her to talk about.
Simon, the market has not been listening to this week, and I thought it was quite a pivotal one for investors because there are so many hawks out there speaking about the potential for an April rate hike, but she came out and basically took potshots at them and has emerged the strongest person that we've seen for a long time.
Absolutely. She reconfirmed everything that she said back in early March. She reconfirmed everything that she said back in September. And I think that story remains absolutely central to this. And if we're talking about the story of the quarter, we went into it with China being an issue and oil prices being an issue, and both of those indirectly are a function of a strong dollar or expectations about tighter monetary policy. We knew that China had a major problem with policy. What were they going to do? Were they going to end up devaluing? Were they going to end up having to pull back on the capital controls? That was the big issue. We know how much problems that could cause in markets from what happened last August, last September. There was only one way that you could actually get out of that was actually to take away the dollar strength story. And guess what? That's exactly what the Fed did. All of a sudden, they're easier, markets calm down, suddenly the recovery in emerging markets taking place. And the other story on the quarter, just to go back to that wall, isn't it really currency strength, stock market weakness is the real story out there?
All well and good, but it's not part of the Fed's mandate to take a look at what China does and trying to manage its currency around risks emerging from the mainland economy. That's not what the Fed is there to do.
You're absolutely right, but their mandate also doesn't cover currency. But let's face it, they've done that for the last 15 years. So if we're actually talking about what their mandate is, de jure or de facto, they're two very different things. And I think that we all understand that beneath the surface, the Fed has a far wider remit than necessarily is contained in the mandate.